Dobro večer, dobrodošli još jedan na jedan, dragi moji gledatelji. Moj večerašnji gost, ako ću dobro akcentuirati, Ognjan Zlatev. Dobro večer, dobrodošli, predstavnik Europske komisije u Zagrebu. Vi ste ovdje 6. i 7. mjesec.
Da.
Kako ste se snašli? Vama ovdje zapravo nije ništa novo, poznajete.
Nije poznato, sviđa mi se puno.
Evo, vi i govorite hrvatski, ali ja ću vas poštediti jer su tu ipak diplomatske nijanse posredi, pa vi govorite slobodno engleski, ali malo ćete pitanja razumjeti i možemo krenuti u razgovor. Gospodine Zlatev, recite najjednostavnije, što donosi zapravo predsjedavanje Europskim vijećem državama članicama? Je li mi to uopće razumijemo? Koji je benefit toga? Vi ste to prošli u Bugarskoj, tako pa iz zaista nulte ruke ili prve ruke govorite.
This is an excellent opportunity for a country which has the presidency, especially for the first time, like Croatia and like Bulgaria was 2 years ago, to actually demonstrate that the country is really an equal member to the other members of the European Union. I know that in our societies, there is still widespread opinion that perhaps we are too small, we are insignificant, whatever we say doesn't matter because it's them somewhere there in Brussels that decide everything, or in the capitals of the bigger member states like Berlin or Paris. But this is not true. Croatia and Bulgaria, we are not small countries. Small countries are, let's say, Malta or Cyprus or the Baltic states. We are not that small. And our vote counts because each member state has one vote. So we have our place in the decision-making process. And the presidency of the Council of the European Union is actually an excellent opportunity to prove this, and to prove this not only to ourselves, but also to prove this to the wider world.
Predsjedavanje je naravno prilika da se nešto više sazna o načinu funkcioniranja Europske unije. Vi ste sami istakli da je to prigoda da hrvatski građani saznaju više o tome ne samo kako Europska unija funkcionira, nego da jačaju svoju percepciju o svom europskom građanstvu. To je vrlo važno, da se osjete ne samo građanima Hrvatske, pa odatle svi ti suverenizmi i tako. Fenomeni koji su, naravno, ne samo hrvatski, koji snaže, nažalost, Europom, ali ovaj drugi fenomen pripadnosti zapravo na većoj zajednici, biti građanin Europe, na neki način se nedovoljno razumije i afirmira. Kako tu pomoći? Koje je bilo vaše iskustvo u Bugarskoj? Ili, naravno, širom Europe?
This is indeed a very important point that you make, that for us we should actually understand, and not only understand, but also explain to our fellow citizens that, okay, we are, let's say, Croats or Bulgarians or Romanians, but we're also Europeans. That there is still, especially in the new member states, there is still this problem that we still think about Brussels and being a member of the European Union as Brussels and the European Union is somewhere that is far away. This is not true. We are part of this. We are Brussels. We are European Union. To the same extent that, like the people in Brussels are members of the European Union and they're Europeans, to the same extent, we here in Zagreb, we are also part of this European Union. So it is an excellent opportunity to also provide more information, explain why it's so important for us, for all our citizens, for all the members of the society, that Croatia is a member of the European Union. What are the benefits of this? In Bulgaria, when we had the presidency, we ran an opinion poll before the beginning of the presidency and after the presidency. And I have to tell you, it was done by one of the leading opinion poll agencies. And the results are very positive. We show that the results show clear improvement of the level of knowledge of the citizens, of the way institutions of the European Union work, what exactly are they doing, especially now when we have in our plans to participate, all of us, into this new concept called the Conference on the Future of Europe, which requires massive participation on behalf of the citizens. I think we will see the same results here in Croatia.
Vi ste zapravo prošli ovo sad što na neki način prolazite ovdje u Hrvatskoj. Vi ste bili predstavnik Europske komisije u Sofiji upravo u vrijeme kad je Bugarska predsjedavala. Dakle, identična na vlast situacija. Sad Hrvatska predsjedava, vi ste predstavnik Europske komisije u Hrvatskoj. Je li moguće komparirati ta iskustva Bugarske i Hrvatske? Što za sad dobro radimo, što ne razumijemo? Da li mi uopće razumijemo do koje mjere je, recimo, sam premijer Plenković naš brend, do koje mjere je Hrvatska kroz njegov rad, recimo, i osobnost, ako želimo, afirmirana, uvažavana u Europskoj uniji, ili uopće ne razumijemo, pa ne samo oni, imamo cijeli niz naših, dakle, visoko pozicioniranih dužnosnika danas, ne. Prema tome, koliko Hrvati, recimo, u komparaciji sa Bugarima, vašim zemljacima, razumiju da, eto, vanjska politika postaje unutrašnja, kao što govorite, da zakoni sami postoje struktura, na neki način funkcioniranja te države, društva i tako dalje, koje su istovjetni ovoga širom, mnogi od njih, naravno, deseci tisuća, Europskoj uniji, i da zaista postajemo jedna zemlja, te se ne možemo vladati kao da nas ne interesira taj magloviti Haag, Brisel i neki neobični ljudi koji su se učahurili u tu Europsku komisiju i samo što rade, trude se oko demokratskog deficita. O čemu ćemo kasnije.
You see, I think we have to be a little bit careful when we are making these comparisons, because by the time when Bulgaria was presiding the European Union, this was the end of the legislative cycle of the previous, let's say, European Commission and European institutions, and we are now in a completely different situation. This is now the beginning of the new legislative cycle of the new European institutions. So the timing is different. The set of issues that the previous European institutions had to deal with is quite different than the set of issues we are dealing and we have to deal now and for the next, let's say, 4 or 5 years. So in any case, I think what is important is that for both Croatia and Bulgaria, what is important is that we are having the presidency for the first time. It comes relatively early in our, let's say, democratic history. For Croatia, it's even earlier than in Bulgaria. But at the same time, there are a lot of expectations. There are a lot of expectations from our own citizens, and there are also a lot of expectations from the European citizens, which we are part of, as we already agreed. Today, we have to come up with solutions, and you know the role. We should perhaps also mention a couple of words about the role of the country which is presiding the EU. It's okay, we are equal among ourselves, but at the same time, it is our role to navigate into these very complicated global political waters and look for solutions and for consensual solutions. Our role is, as it is described in the treaties, to be honest broker. So in other words, Croatia is now presiding the EU, and Croatia's task is actually to try and find consensus or at least majority of thinking when where there's very...
Koji prioriteti, odmah da vam postavim pitanje, koji bi to bili prioriteti, dakle, hrvatskog predsjedanja Vijećem Europom?
Croatia has identified the priorities of Croatian presidency in line with the priorities of the so-called Troika. These are the 3 countries that are having one after another the presidencies. And of course, they're broadly also in line with the priorities, let's say, of the Commission that was set by the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Of course, it is very important that Croatia put in the focus on the, for example, future enlargement of the European Union, because we cannot think of security and safety of our European citizens if there is no security and safety here in our region. So that's why Croatia put very strong emphasis on the issue about enlargement, and so far we are receiving very positive signals that hopefully during the Zagreb summit, which I tend to say probably is going to be one of the crown jewels of the crown of Croatian presidency, we're going to have some positive and tangible outcomes, because this is what actually our friends from neighboring countries are looking for. Issues related to discussions around the next multi-annual financial framework, for example. We could have ideas, we could be very ambitious, but if these ideas and ambitions are not backed up by the respective financial resources, they're like dreams. And today, in this very complicated global situation, it's good to be a dreamer, but it's also good to have some resources at your disposal in order to be able to react or anticipate the developments the world is going to. We still have areas where we need to catch up, and that's why it is important to have these resources available.
Prije nego što vas pitam par pitanja o samoj Europskoj komisiji, možete li objasniti našim gledateljima koji je vaš posao i uloga kao predsjednika Europske komisije, dakle, bilo jučer u Bugarskoj ili danas u Hrvatskoj? Što vi radite? Surađujete sa vladom ili s nekim drugim? Mislim, naravno i sa, ali što radite da se ne miješam?
Our main task here is to promote why it is important for our citizens that our respective countries are members of the European Union, what are the benefits for them personally and also for the society and for the state. Of course, we work together with the different governmental institutions. We are providing easy communication and contact between the different services of the Commission and the different governmental institutions. We are also working together with NGOs, with academia, with young students, with children in the schools or the university, precisely telling them about the importance of being a member of the European Union and the benefits we all have, and the fact that they should be proud of being part of this big family of 500 million.
Demokratska revitalizacija i obnova demokratskih standarda jedan je od zadataka, jednako tako i u fokusu rada ove nove komisije. Ali tu postoji jedan problem. Ja ću vam pročitati jedan trivialan, prvi koji mi je izašao na tražilici, naslov iz mainstream hrvatskih novina. Dva su osnovna razloga demokratski deficit Europske unije. Prvi je tog demokratskog deficita, prvi je institucionalna premoć Europske komisije u odnosu na nacionalni parlament, Europski parlament, a drugi se krije u pretjeranoj birokratizaciji. Sad birokratizaciju pustimo od Kafke na ovamo, dakle od Kauntka, od kad je birokratizacija, od tada je užitka i u labirintu administracije, ali pustimo za to. Vrlo jednostavno bi se moglo postaviti pitanje. Kako ćete rješavati taj problem demokratske revitalizacije? Ja imam problema sa sinusima, da gledatelji, pa stalno zadnje 2-3 emisije ovoga se teško artikuliram. Uglavnom, kako ćete rješavati taj problem uz optužbu da ste vi zapravo dio problema i generator problema dapače, a ne ona instanca koja bi ga trebala rješavati?
Okay, I will tell you my thinking about this issue, but I first want to underline in the beginning that I don't at all agree with these statements, because I don't find I find these statements a little bit speculative. You cannot talk about over control of and over power of the European Commission, because it is not quite like this. Let's not forget that the political leadership of the European Commission and also the members of the European Parliament are directly elected by the European citizens. So, in a way, we are a function of the decision of the European and the will of the European citizens. There is a point, and of course, we take every criticism that is constructive, and we try to improve. I take the point about, let's say, bureaucratization, but then again, we need to be a little bit careful, because today there are about, let's say, roughly speaking, about 33,000 civil servants working for the European institutions. If you compare with the number of the civil servants of whichever member state, you will see that the proportions are not equal. And these 33,000 people, civil servants of the European Union, they deal with the whole countries, with all the countries of the European Union, and they work for the well-being of 500 million. So I hope you would agree that the proportions, it's really, I wouldn't say that it is that bad. Secondly, of course, the way we become, how to say, more transparent. This is the way I think we are going to solve the problem. By becoming more transparent, by becoming more inclusive, and also by explaining and talking, being, let's say, going out, spreading the word, that actually we are there because these are the mechanisms. This is how democracy works. You have a group of people that are put in charge on the will of, let's say, of the people, of the people of certain country. So that's why I don't quite agree with statements that, you know, these are these anonymous Eurocrats or bureaucrats in Brussels. They're not anonymous, they have names.
Dopustite jedno pitanje. Obično se predbacuje vama, Europskoj komisiji, da ta demokratska insuficijencija, deficit. Sad, kako revitalizirati taj imidž, ako ne i samu supstancu, dakle samu suštinu stvari, ako se stalno predbacuje da ste vi jedino tijelo koje se zapravo, koje nije sačinjeno demokratskim procedeom? Je li to uopće točna percepcija?
Ne, I don't think so. This is the kind of language and dictionary of, let's say, populist or anti-Europeans or Eurosceptics, first of all. Second, as I said, we are there because of the existing regulations, and this is also part of democracy. We all want to live in democratic society, and democratic society develops following certain rules, and we all accept that we want to be part of it. It is the same with, you know, sometimes I hear this when I interact with, when I go in the countryside and talk to local people. Yeah, but why this should come? Look, it was our own will that we become member of the European Union. Nobody was forcing us to go there. We decided this through our politicians that we elected on our own will to be part of the European Union. Nobody was forcing us to go there. So European Union is not Soviet Union. We are there, and we are a member of the European Union because we wanted to be a member of the European Union. We wanted to be part of the European family. So the way to fix this is to be with the people to the extent it is possible. That's why this initiative, which is called now Conference on the Future of Europe, in the Commission we call it Citizens' Dialogues. There was these debates organized on the initiative of President Macron in France. These are all elements that we need. European politicians should be speaking more to the people and be with the people.
Prije te konferencije biti će u Zagrebu, pardon, u Briselu će biti taj izvanredan summit.
Da.
20. veljače. Naš premijer je kazao, zato sam pomislio Zagreb, dat ću novi politički poticaj za dogovor, ali još je prerano reći hoće li se sve završiti dogovorom. Naravno, govorio je FAO-u. O čemu ovisi taj dogovor?
Depends on several important things. On one hand, this is the principle how the so-called European budget is formed. There is a proposal which comes out from the Commission, which was presented on the 2nd of May 2018. And then there is the discussion of the member states, among the member states, and there is also a proposal coming from the Parliament. The Commission proposal was that the input of each of the member states should amount to 1.11% of GNI. This is gross national income. The Parliament came with even, how to say, more ambitious proposal that member states should contribute by 1.3% of gross national income. There are member states which are the so-called net contributors to the budget. Countries like, let's say, Germany, like Austria, like the Netherlands, like Denmark, which say they don't agree. They say we are giving too much especially to the so-called cohesion countries, the friends of cohesion, like Croatia, like Bulgaria, like Romania. And that's why we suggest that the contribution should be not 1.11 or 1.3, but should be only 1%. Okay. So this is the importance, and this is how the decision should be taken. All countries, all member states, all 27 now, has to agree which of these three figures, or perhaps there should be a fourth figure, we don't know, is acceptable for everybody. Of course, for our countries, as I said, Croatia, Bulgaria, Romania, Czech Republic, Slovakia, etc., we want to see higher contributions so that we could rely on higher return back to us, because our economies, we are still transition economies. Our economies need this amount, this funding coming from the EU. In our countries, I was reading the statistics that something like 70%, if I'm not mistaken, of the public investment, for example, in Croatia, depends on the EU funds, which is quite a high percentage. So if we don't keep this level, it's not good for us. And this is the tricky part, and that's why this council meeting that is going to be on the 20th of February is really very important, because the president of the council, Mr. Charles Michel, will try to find a way, in working together with Prime Minister Plenković as the presiding country of the Council of the European Union, to find this consensus among all the member states about this one figure that we will all agree that, okay, this is going to be our contribution, let's have the budget deal signed and let's start working on it.
Potpredsjednica povjerenica za demokraciju i demografiju, gospođa Dubravka Šuica, će s komisijine strane predvoditi rad na konferenciji koju ste spomenuli o budućnosti Europe. Zapravo, tu je ključan proces savjetovanja sa građanima, kao što ste kazali, na razini Europske unije o našoj zajedničkoj viziji. Najlakše bi bilo sad postaviti pitanje postoji li uopće ikakva zajednička vizija, ali ja ću recimo pokušati, iako je to nijansirano, dati dva gruba nacrta. Davnih dana je Kamerun, a imala to odjek u Hrvatskoj, zapravo obilazi Europu nudići koncept suverenih, snažnih nacionalnih država uvezanih jedino slobodnim tržištem. Suprotan tome je ovaj idealistički, federalistički koncept jedne federacije, za koju naravno treba i ona unija, dakle od monetarne do fiskalne, možda zajednička vojska i tako dalje. To je jedan, kako bi rekao naš bivši predsjednik, milenijski projekt. Ja osobno sam, tako volim utopije i eskatone, federalist. Moj prijatelj je, recimo, koji je bio ovdje u studiju, kazao da je on ipak realist, ali je na tom tragu također mislio. Negdje između te dvije krajnosti, koja je uopće moguća vizija zajedničke Europe sutra, a da bude realna? U sve ove pokušaje da se nekako Europska unija rastoči, nemojmo bježati od toga, ima ih, jer je to ipak 500 miliona ljudi tržište, sa Rusijom i sirovinama je to nešto drugo. Da je ostala Britanija, to bi bilo gotovo na 600 miliona. To je velika opasnost za poredak kakav je do sada u svijetu. A sa druge strane, čujte, to je laboratorij ideja, to je ipak Evropa, mislim, visoke srednje klase i tako dalje, standarda koji su drugdje u svijetu, mislim, zapravo na neki način tako ono čemu treba tendirati od, recimo, zelenog svijeta, digitalnog svijeta, tako dalje, tako dalje. Dakle, hoću kazati, Evropa je opasnost kada bi bila federalna, kada bi lingua franca bila bilo kojeg jezika, ne znam, može biti latinski što se mene tiče, francuski, engleski, tako dalje, i kada bi disala onako kako bi trebala, kako bi mi svi željeli. Jedan kontinent, jedna zajednica, bez granica, slobodnim protok roba, ideja, ljudi i tako dalje. Je li to moguće?
If I knew the answer, perhaps we would not be sitting here today, and I will be sitting somewhere, I don't know, in some fancy cabin. Yes, but that's why this is one of the points of this process called now conference on the future of Europe, because it's not a one-off event, it's a process. And that's why we want to hear as many as possible opinions of our citizens. This is the whole point. Because obviously we reach the point where we realize that we cannot continue further like this. Like we don't forget that when the European Union was created, the situation was completely different from what it was now. We were even, how to say, joking among ourselves that perhaps the founding fathers, if they have an opportunity to look at us now, 70 years after the beginning of the European Union, they would hardly recognize perhaps how big, and they wouldn't believe their eyes if they see how big and how powerful the European Union has become. So that's why we put very big attention and importance to this consultative process between the European citizens and institutions, and try to find a way. I mean, there is even a way how the opinion coming out from the opinions that would come out from this conference would be.
Znate, lako je reći, pardon, euroskepticizam, ali to podrazumijeva da čovjek zna to u što sumnja. Ja ne vjerujem, ja sam pak skeptičan spram euroskepticizma zbog tog jednog delikatnijeg sadržaja. Ja ne vjerujem da mnogi ljudi uopće znaju što je Europska komisija, što je Europska unija, kako funkcionira i tako dalje. E sad, jedna stvar me ovdje ovoga zanima. Imate li vi dojam na terenu, kad govorite o građanima, a to je sada u ovoj agendi i ove nove Europske komisije jako važno, da su ti građani se počeli zatvarati u te svoje suverenizme, u nacionalne države i da stvaraju ponovo Europu, jedan moj gost rekao je, koja naliči na Italiju prije ujedinjenja.
Look, I think both Croatia and the country that I know best, Bulgaria, I think we are pro-European countries. So, thank God, so far I don't feel this as a prevailing attitude among the let's say, average people, ordinary citizens that I meet every day. But in order to really prevent this not to happen, I mean to have people kind of closing themselves, that's why it is important to go out and communicate and be with them. By the way, I also want to point out something else that people tend to forget. Remember that last year, just before the European elections, there were lots of, how to say, statements coming from all over the place that basically European Union is not going anywhere, people don't trust, people are not interested, etc. You see that at the last European elections, we had the highest ever turnout, which, in my opinion, comes to show that actually European citizens are actually interested in what's going to happen to them. And that's why they come in such big numbers.
Dobro, ako se nastavi taj trend. Recite mi, što je napravila Europska komisija na čelu sa Junckerom? On se u ovoj zemlji jako podcenjivao. Postoje recimo osobe poput gospođine Sabalić koja je tamo u Briselu, u Hagu doma i koja je stalno upozoravala nije to tako. Kako je vaš dojam?
I can tell you many things that have happened during the Juncker Commission, that have been achieved during the Juncker Commission. One of the important methods of operation that President Juncker introduced was that let's focus on less number of, let's say, priorities and things, but do them, and these less in number things are actually very important for big number of people, and do these things as they said. If you remember, the Juncker Commission had 10 priorities, and the Commission, the work of the Commission was focused on implementing all these 10 priorities. There were, how to say, so many achievements. I mean, I'll just have to tell you that in addition to this very clear agenda, during the term of Juncker Commission, European Union has to face a number of crises. There were like, at some point, 12 or 13 crises. You had the worst economic crisis that hit Europe, worse than the Big Depression. You had the migration crisis. You had the crisis of the euro. You had the Greece crisis. I mean, all these crises that came and nobody was expecting them, but we have managed to emerge from them and emerge stronger only because we were working together as a union, and not a single member state, even as powerful, let's say, as Germany or France, could deal with these issues if it was dealing it on its own. We had, let's talk about something very, very, very simple and very tangible. During the Juncker Commission, for example, we now take it as for granted, but we had this decision about abolishment of the roaming taxes, for example. Now you can travel all around the European Union and paying the same amount of money as you pay here in Croatia for your phone calls, for example. We forget about this. All these initiatives about now also linking this to the coming days and to the priorities of Croatian presidency. During the Juncker Commission, the initiative about also including the region of the Western Balkans into this program for decreasing the roaming charges is also, has also started. I mean, there are hundreds of, we have the lowest ever recorded levels of unemployment because of the very good economic figures during the...
To je važan podatak. Što su ciljevi nove, programi, programski ciljevi nove Europske komisije?
President von der Leyen also is building on what has already been achieved, and she's following suit with even more ambitious program. You know that as one of the two very important aims and objectives of the program of this Commission is the so-called Green Deal and digital transformation. It is really high time for us to understand, to realize that we cannot continue like this and that something needs to be changed. That's why the so-called Green Deal has been put in place, this proposal for becoming carbon neutral continent by 2050 was put as a strategic goal with the relevant financial resources. Significant amount is paid to the digital transformation because this is the future. This is where the new workplaces are going, the new jobs are going to appear, and we have to deal with this. Of course, there is an important attention is put on the preventing and providing security and safety for all our citizens. And also something very important is to make Europe being seen and comprehended as a big player and important player on the international field. These are among the priorities. Also, talking about bureaucracy, the Commission of President von der Leyen also followed the case of President Juncker to decrease the number of, let's say, new legislation that is offered. So she introduced this principle of one in, one out. So if there is a need to introduce new piece of legislation, one of the existing ones should be discarded if it's not operational.
Da ne dođemo do te prenormiranosti. Dva pitanja koja na brzinu mi odgovorite, jer ističe nam vrijeme, a važna su za nas ovdje. Tonino Picolo govorio o nove metodologiji pregovora. Recite mi, svako bi vas to pitao, šta će biti s proširenjem?
We are very positive about it. The Commission is very much supportive. The Commission of President von der Leyen is very much supportive of this process of EU enlargement. As I already mentioned, we cannot expect to have security and stability in Europe if we don't have security and stability here at our borders, in our region, because Western Balkans is in our, I mean, it's not polite to say back door, but it's backyard, but it's part of Europe. So we really need to provide...
Navikli smo ante murale.
We need to provide the European perspective for our neighbors, because they're here, we have been living together with them for decades, and we cannot just leave them behind. Moreover, as you well noted, there are other players, global players, that are interested to also step in. So from that point of view, the European Commission has proposed a new methodology for the enlargement. This weekend, the leaders of the Western Balkan countries are going to Brussels to meet with President of the European Council, Charles Michel. And then we all hope that during the Zagreb summit on the 6th and 7th of May here in Zagreb. There's going to be some tangible outcomes out of this summit that also indications are that more or less most of the European Union member states are absolutely positive and understanding the importance of having our neighbors becoming part of the European Union. So really, we are really hopeful that this is going to be achieved during the Croatian presidency.
Mi u Hrvatskoj smo geniji kad treba obrazložiti neke naše bedaste postupke, pa tako ćete zateći recimo obrazloženje. Hrvatska mora i može biti spremna za eurozonu, ali eurozona nije spremna za Hrvatsku. Da mi je tako nevjerovatno, vidim da vi... Kako stoje stvari sa time?
Look, this really sounds like a nice title or in the newspaper, but I think this is again way too much. Croatia aspires to become a member of the Eurozone, and this will happen, I'm sure. It is in the treaty for Croatia's accession to the European Union that Croatia should become a member of the Eurozone. There is also a process. It is not like the process of, let's say, EU enlargement, but it's a different type of process of negotiation between the Croatian government and Croatian Central Bank with the European Central Bank and the central banks and ministers of finance of the Eurozone. This process is on track. We hope that by July this year, Croatia will receive invitation to join the so-called ERM2 mechanism, which is the so-called waiting room before a country becomes a full member of the Eurozone. And I know that there are a lot of nuanced opinions about the pros and cons of becoming a member of the Eurozone. But I can tell you that there are a lot of misconceptions that once the country becomes a member of the Eurozone, the prices are going to rocket and things like that. This is not true. I just give you a couple of facts. If you look at the countries that recently joined the Eurozone, I mean the Baltic states and let's say Slovakia, that are countries with economies that are comparable to Croatia, for example, with the Croatian economy, you will see that there were not at all such fluctuations, and not to mention that, for example, Latvia joined the Eurozone precisely in the middle of the biggest economic crisis, while everybody else was saying, oh, this means the collapse of Europe's economy is going to disintegrate. Nothing of the kind. On the contrary, Croatia, like also my country, Bulgaria, is also aspiring to join the Eurozone, and I hope that this is really going to materialize very soon. There is a requirement that once the country becomes member of this so-called waiting room or ERM2, there's another period of minimum of 2 years that the country's economy and the country's banking system proves that it could sustain that level, and then it's easy.
Hvala lijepo. Ostale su pitanja o post-Brexit situaciji i nisam vas pitao ništa o vašoj zemlji Bugarskoj, ako sam planirao, ali eto, ovo vrijeme je proletilo. Hvala vam lijepo što ste bili naš gost večeras ovdje u emisiji. Vjerujem i sasvim sigurno da ćete ili u ovoj emisiji ili nekoj drugoj HRT odgovoriti i na ta pitanja, jer su sigurno mnogima našim gledateljima sigurno interesantne. Dragi gledatelji, hvala lijepo što ste bili sa nama još jednom u 1 na 1 i do sljedećeg ponedjeljka. Doviđenja i laku noć.